Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our preview video going into Game Week 8, and boy do we have some big transfer decisions that need to be made with my own team. If it does help you out and you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. The support has been awesome recently, and we've actually got quite a few new subscribers over recent videos. And we're a small channel trying to grow, so it really is noticed and it really is appreciated. So thank you if you've been a supporter for a short time or a long time. I'm just grateful for it. And if you've got any questions that'll help your own team, pop them in the comments as well, and I will get back to you. So let's take a quick review of Game Week 7. So we've done a little video already on the channel about how my team did, so I don't want to spend too long talking about this when we've got a lot of things for the future that we need to discuss. But overall, it was an okay game week. On Saturday, I'd gone all the way up to 100,000 in the world, and by the end of Sunday, I'd gone down to 250k. So it does mean a red arrow of about 50k overall for the week, but it's not the end of the world. Like, my rank is still awesome, to be honest, and it also shows how close all the point spread is at the moment as well. So don't worry about it if you're not where you want to be with your own team. We always say let's get to Game Week 10 and then reassess, because at that point everything settles down a bit, the point spreads out a little bit more between FPL managers, and you can have some realistic goals for what you want to achieve in the season. So yeah, that's just a bit of advice for me on how I sort of deal with red arrows as well. So the fixtures for this game week, in terms of captaincy, for me it's Haaland. I know sometimes you want to try and get the interesting captaincy pick, but I also think a lot of times people overthink the captaincy and they try and reinvent the wheel, and a lot of times it's staring you in the face, and it's the best player with the best fixture, and that's Haaland with Wolves away. So I think if Arsenal didn't have a few of their attackers flagged, you could maybe make an argument for someone like Saka, but at the moment he's got a bit of an injury issue. So I just think why take the risk? Even Salah with Chelsea at home, if you have Haaland in your team, captain him. If you don't own Haaland and you own Salah, then yeah, Chelsea at home is probably absolutely fine. They're a bit dodgy defensively at the moment, so I think that's a good pick as well. But for me, with my own team, I'll be captaining Haaland. So the team for this game week looks pretty good, and a lot of players I already own that other FPL managers had to wildcard in a couple of game weeks ago, which is good for me because I tried to plan for this sort of section of fixtures in advance, and it's meant that I've been able to keep hold of my wildcard that I can use a bit later in the season, maybe when these players' fixtures, they change and my cheap defenders aren't looking as valuable as they once were now. In terms of injured players, I've got 3 in my team, and that's Mykolenko, Saka and Havertz. Now, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be out this game week, but for someone like Mykolenko, I'm just going to leave him. It's not worth using a transfer on an injured defender, at least in the short term. If this injury is massive and he's not going to play again this season, then yeah, I'd look at transferring him out. But at 4.3 million, you've probably got someone on your bench who is that same price and can have that sort of impact. I've got Face from Leicester City, and he's playing Southampton away. So I'm going to start Mykolenko, and if Mykolenko plays, great, that's a good fixture for him. If he doesn't play, then Face will come in with pretty much the equivalent opportunity to score points. So I'm absolutely not going to use a free transfer on Mykolenko. What I am thinking of doing is using it on Saka and Havertz, and the reason for that is because a lot of your game week points aren't going to be tied up in a cheap defender. They're going to be tied up in your premium players. So Saka and Havertz could, potentially get me 20 points this game week. I think that's what they got me last time. They got me 21 points. So they're the transfers that if they're not playing, they're the players that are going to be costing my team the points the most. So they're the transfers you want to be looking into your team. So if you do have injuries in your team, look at how valuable they are, how many points would you expect for them, and then that should lend you towards whether you should transfer them out or not. So this is how I'm set up. I've got 2 free transfers and 0.7 million in the bank. And my plan A is to go Saka to Foden and Havertz to Matthias Cunha. Now, each of these transfers can be done individually for me, and they all hinge on whether Saka and Havertz are injured or not. If one of them's injured and one of them's definitely going to play, then I'll just keep one and transfer out the other one for one of these 2 players as it stands. Now, there is the potential to transfer both of these out anyway, because if there is a risk of injury, if we're not sure going to the deadline, I'll probably make the decision to transfer them out. It does mean that I'd miss out on a good Bournemouth fixture, but that fixture is away, And the fixtures for Arsenal afterwards are not good. You know, they've got 3 out of the next 4 away from home, and they're playing some teams that you would essentially think are going to be in the top 6 or 7 teams in the Premier League this season. Even though I miss out on the Saka fixture with Bournemouth, Foden plays Wolves away. And as we said in the captaincy section, like, that's probably the best fixture of the game week. And Foden at 5.9% owned is probably the best differential in FPL right now. We've been talking about him for a couple of weeks, and whilst he's not performed in FPL terms, he has been getting his minutes up, and he is someone who was player of the season in the whole Premier League last season. So, you know, I can't believe that he's so low, and I do think in a couple of game weeks everyone will be talking about him after he's got some returns against Wolves and Southampton. Matthias Cunha, you could argue, he's got Man City at home, why are you thinking of getting him in? Well, Man City haven't kept a clean sheet since game week 1, so from a defensive point of view, they're not great. And I've owned Gvardiol all season, so I can tell you firsthand that they're not great defensively. I wouldn't be telling you to get any other Wolves player in against Man City, but Matthias Cunha's got 3 goals already this season and could do really well, could still get a goal against Man City. And even if he doesn't, those next 3 fixtures are really good. And if he's someone that I'm going to want for that medium to long term, and Havertz is potentially out, even if Havertz might play, if we're not sure at the deadline, I'll probably make those transfers. Now, plan B could be, if I did decide to take Havertz out, I could go to Solanke. If I went to Solanke, I could still afford Saka to Palmer, but I'm a bit like, am I trying to shoehorn Palmer and force him into my team at this stage? Those fixtures don't look great. So for me, I think when I look at Saka, Palmer and Foden, and you look at the potential, and you look at, include Saka's potential injury in there, and then the upside of the fixtures, I think Foden just looks so obvious. But I am aware sometimes as FPL managers we can get a bit tunnel visioned. So if you do disagree and there is a player there that you think I should, you know, get in, or there's a player that I'm ignoring, let me know in the comments, because I'm aware that, you know, other opinions are helpful in when you're focusing on your own team, because sometimes you just can't see, you know, you focus on the first thing that comes up and then you lose sight of other potential options. So if I did do either Saka or Havertz out for one of Foden or Matthias Cunha, I could also upgrade Kevin Schade in midfield. So he's a Brentford midfielder that I've had in for a few game weeks now. He's a bit of a fun, risky pick at 5.4 million for Brentford's fixtures. And Brentford's fixtures are still good. I'm not desperate to get him out, even though he's not been returning. He's had a couple of chances cleared off the line. But Maddison, like Solanke, has West Ham, Crystal Palace, Villa and Ipswich in the next 4. It's quite good. Bowen has Spurs, Man United, Forest and Everton in the next 4. It's quite good as well. But I'm kind of against going for them, because I think this season the secret to success is how many big hitters can you get in your team. Like Fantasy League have done a really good job of pricing these big hitters, so you can't have them all. You know, look at Palmer and Saka, say, or Diaz and Jota. You know, people jump from player to player every game week chasing points, and there's going to be players that you don't own each game week who score you points. So the key is how many big hitters can you get in, and that's another reason not to use a transfer on a cheap defender. So if I did get in Maddison or Bowen, I feel like they're the sort of players at that 7.5-ish million mark where, yeah, they're good for a little bit, but then I'm going to want to transfer them out. And it actually means that I'll go from having, you know, 3.2 million in the bank with that Saka to Foden and Havertz to Matthias Cunha. If I got in Maddison, I'd have 0.3 million in the bank. So it really reduces my flexibility to get in another big hitter later down the line. You know, I wouldn't be able to get Saka back in, say. So there is enough to do that. And then in game week 12, I could do Eze to Saka back in, which would then give me, you know, Saka and Foden in the midfield together. Eze's fixtures at the moment are Forest, Wolves and Fulham in the next 4. After that, he has quite tough fixtures, so I don't want to take Eze out right now because I've held him for so long. I want to make use of those good fixtures. Saka's fixtures are difficult, solve that by going to Foden. Then in a few game weeks, I go Eze to Saka. Now I could also use my wild card at some point during there as well. There'll probably be injuries as well that get put in there, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So let me know in the comments what you think about my own team, and likewise if you've got any questions about your own team as well, I'm more than happy to help if you want my advice. Please do subscribe if you're new. We'll be putting out a few more videos later this game week, so if you want to subscribe, you know, keep in contact with all the content we're putting out, you know what to do, and I will see you in the next one.